Yo, what is up, my dudes? I'm back with another video. I know I already did a video today, but I wanted to get into a little bit of a topic that I've never really talked about before, and that is scrapped ideas for some of my fanfics. And I've had several ideas that were eventually scrapped for other ideas. And the one that comes to my mind automatically, the fanfic that comes to my mind that had the most scrapped ideas, was the Data Live torture series. Now, this one had a lot of different ideas that were eventually scrapped. Now, what were these scrapped ideas? Well, originally, I had some of the characters go through some different stuff that were eventually scrapped or didn't even happen at all, basically. When compared to the final product. Now, the first chapter didn't have any scrapped ideas. It was mainly the whole Toka being tortured thing. It's basically exactly like what I thought about for my original idea. It's where I get into the second chapter with, or one of the chapters, I forget which one, I think it was Nia's. I forget which one has Nia's which one is Nia's chapter specifically, but this is where the scrapped ideas start coming into play. As with Nia, I didn't originally have her being tortured by Slade. This was another idea that I had thought of. Since I have been a fan of the Saw franchise for a long time, since I was like 16, by the way, this is where these scrapped ideas eventually went into play. As I originally had Nia, I originally didn't even have her being tortured by Slade at all. She was originally going to be strung on the angel trap from Saw. If you know Saw as well as I do, you will be familiar with this trap. It is an an unwinnable trap where her Nia first found herself, basically, and she would have been, basically, the same thing would have applied to her. Westcott would have actually said, hey, you need to get the key to undo the trap, and long story short, the trap would be impossible to actually get out of, and Nia was originally not going to actually survive, which was another scrapped idea. I had all of the spirits actually survive her actual tortures and all that, which was another scrapped idea. Some of them were actually not going to survive, similar to Nia. Another scrapped idea was with origami. Now, this one is very unique, as this was another original idea formed from Saw. Basically, three of them were her base. Two of them were an idea straightly cut from Saw. Basically, Saw was another was the basis for some of these original ideas. For her specifically, Nia and origami. And origami, I had originally went over this trap before. Origami versus the rack. I had actually went over a video of me discussing this original idea before a few years ago, on my original channel, which I don't have the video up anymore because I just don't have it up anymore. I deleted it. But originally, the idea was going to have origami be strapped to the infamous rack that Timothy was actually strapped to in the Saw franchise. If you know Saw 3, you will know Timothy, Timothy's trap, and it is one of the most brutal ones from Saw in many people's eyes, including mine, because it's just insanely brutal. It's just awful, basically. And origami was originally also strapped to the rack, and And basically the same thing applies to her that applied to Timothy. All 4 of her bones would eventually be twisted into basically nothing, basically. Basically, which, again, this idea was eventually scrapped for, I forget what I did with origami specifically. Actually, I forget her actual, her actual, chapter at the moment. But yeah, that original, rack idea was eventually scrapped, including Mukuru's original idea. Mukuru, I don't even really remember if I even have, he had Mukuru in her own, chapter. At the moment, I forget what, I forget if she even had a chapter at the moment. It's been a while since I went over this fanfic, by the way. Her original scrapped idea was more of a funny or fetishized idea. Sorry, I kept on messing up the word. With her just having a really weird one. Her original idea was her just having a balloon being inflated in her, like, pink outfit and all that, which I originally thought of, and I'm like, well, I don't know, I might use this for a fanfic idea, and I might not. And of course, this one was also scrapped. I never even went into this idea at all, in that fanfic, similar with Nia's. The only thing that I did do with the rack was with Mana herself. I actually used that idea in another fanfic entirely. Side note, I actually did use the rack, but with Mana herself, in a completely different fanfic. I thought that I would note that right now. Yes, I did use the rack idea. I just scrapped the idea with origami and used Mana instead for the whole rack thing. Which is a pretty neat side note. I didn't scrap the idea completely. I just used it for another fanfic idea, or her fanfic entirely, and I used a different character. So that idea wasn't entirely scrapped. I just did it a bit differently. The other two, Nia's and Mukuru's, were actually scrapped completely, as, yeah, those ideas never really made it into the final fanfic, which I thought that I would mention. But yeah, there were some, there were some other, small, scrapped ideas from other, fanfics, but are just really small, super small ones that I won't really get into, so they're kind of irrelevant. I will say one of them, though, I was originally going to have in Mukuru's game a separate fanfic altogether. I was originally going to have one of her buyers actually be mean to her, and of course this idea was originally scrapped entirely as well for her. What was the end product. If you want further detail on either the Data Live torture fanfic or my Mukuru's game fanfic, I did both of those on my channel, by the way. So if you're interested, go on my channel and you should find them if you look hard enough. But yeah, I know I already did a video today, but I really wanted to go into scrapped ideas that I've had for my fanfics. And yeah, those were the main ones that I can really think of at the moment. And some of them were really big ideas that were eventually scrapped. But until next time, peace out.